Hey, welcome back. It's Poetry Friday, and actually I'm on break, which means that I wouldn't normally do a Poetry Friday. However, this is a really exciting week because I have huge news! Some of you may wonder where my passion for poetry came from. How did I develop this deep love for poetic word? Well, that's an interesting story, actually. I've always kind of liked poetry, from childhood, but my true passion for poetry came with the development of the Souvenirs, the Poetry Appreciation Club that I started in college. It started as kind of a joke, a game between me and my friend Andrea. We were chatting before class one day, and we were joking because all the students in the Shakespeare class, which we weren't taking, were complaining about having to memorize soliloquies. And we said, that's not so bad, it'd be kind of cool to spout off a Shakespeare soliloquy. Imagine how cool you'd sound. And then we realized that even though we didn't have the class, we might as well go ahead and memorize some soliloquies so we could sound cool too. So it was decided that the next time we met for class, we would both have a Shakespeare speech to recite to each other. That was a Monday. I saw her again on Wednesday, and I recited from Julius Caesar, Caesar's Constant as the Northern Star speech. And she recited something, I think, from Twelfth Night. It was so much fun that we decided to continue the tradition, and every time we met up for class, on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, we would pick a new poet and memorize a piece of poetry and recite it to each other. By the end of the week, I was so excited that I felt like other people needed to join this, and so I asked Joe Voights if he would like to join in as well. Joe now has this really cool podcast, and I'm going to put a link to it in the description below. It's called The Observer Effect. He tells travel stories, and it's really fantastic. You should check it out. 3 of us and a few others who began to join us would memorize poetry 3 times a week. By the next semester, we actually were having official meeting times, and we opened it up to anyone who didn't want to memorize so much poetry, but just wanted to appreciate poetry. Called ourselves the Souvenirs, after the French word to remember. And our motto was tête bien pleine, which means a well-filled head, because of all the good poetry we were pouring inside. I poured my heart out for that club for several years. Not only did we have great meetings where we would recite or read poetry to each other, but we also had awesome events. We would do big poetry recitals where we would recite through an epic piece of poetry on a Saturday. Maybe Dante's Inferno, or Beowulf, or Milton's Paradise Lost. We'd through the whole thing together. Or we took cool field trips to visit bookstores, or author readings and signings. We did a lot of creative stuff, like we would have 2 people memorize the same long poem and then recite it back and forth. One person doing all the even lines, the other person doing all the odd lines, and everyone else in the club would have a bell to ring when someone made a mistake, and we'd keep tally of who was the most accurate. I'll never forget the day when I was standing on the stage in front of the whole English department battling back and forth with Caitlin Hammett, and I beat her by 1 point in The Lady of Shalott. There was a time when we rented ourselves out for a fundraiser on Valentine's Day, where you could rent a poetry nerd to recite a poem to your loved one. I had so many wonderful relationships, I had so many fantastic memories, and I deeply, deeply fell in love with poetry. Well, just this week, I got a letter in the mail from the Souvenirs Poetry Club. We're happy to report that Souvenirs is celebrating its 15th anniversary. They're hosting a reunion party. So I'm going to go meet up with the Souvenirs Poetry Club, this club that I started, this club that meant so much to me, and that inspired my passion for poetry, which has transformed and changed my life in so many ways. 12 hours in a car for a 1-hour poetry party? Oh yeah, I'm there! And I want you to come along with me. I'm going to bring my video camera and record everything that we do, and along the way I'll tell you lots of good stories, all the fun things we used to do, and give you a chance to see how much poetry can mean to a person, and how it can change your life. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week as we continue with Poetry Friday. Click to subscribe or to watch another video. See you later.